On the federal level, Prime Minister Mark Carney released a pre-recorded address to Canadians today, and in it, the PM says the United States under President Donald Trump is acting more like an economic foe than an ally, and that many of Canada's former strengths, which are based on close ties to the U.S., have become weaknesses that must be corrected. Carney also says Canadians cannot focus on the past and must adjust to a new reality.
Hope isn't a plan, and nostalgia is not a strategy. And the days that young Canadians have known all their lives haven't been that good. Their lifetimes have been marked by a series of shocks and crises from abroad: the Iraq War, the global financial crisis, COVID, and now this. We have to take care of ourselves because we can't rely on one foreign partner. We can't control the disruption coming from our neighbors. We can't bet our future on the hope that it will suddenly stop. But we can control what happens here.
Okay, let's unpack those comments with Jamie Gillies. He's a political scientist at St. Thomas University. He joins us from Fredericton. Jamie, thank you for joining us. First off, not the first time the Prime Minister has made comments like this, but very targeted this time around. It could be jarring to some Canadians, and I'm sure there are many Canadians hearing that and asking, why now and why this way, and what's he trying to do?
Well, good afternoon, Mark. Thanks for having me. So I think there's a couple things going on that the Prime Minister might be trying to unpack for Canadians, and we can sort of consider this maybe a corollary to his Davos speech a couple of months ago. One is that now he has a working majority, and he really wants to push that let's get to work narrative. And I noticed in the speech there, he's looking at trying to explain trade diversification to Canadians, and I think try to get Canadians focused on how reliant we are and dependent we are on U.S. trade, and that given the amount of uncertainty, not just in trade, but actions of the U.S. government and the upheaval that we've seen in the world over the last year and a half, that it's in our best interests to think more long-term and strategically about trade globally and work with other partners and other countries to try to get ourselves off of this almost universal dependence on that U.S. market.
Perhaps this is a question to which the answer is yes to both, but did you kind of see this coming? Were we kind of going this way anyway? And is he emboldened now by the fact that he has a majority government?
Well, I think he's being a little more both pragmatic and assertive when it comes to U.S. trade, given comments from Howard Lutnick last week and frequent comments from the Trump administration about Canada. I think now he sees maybe an opportunity. Trump's poll ratings and support in the United States have declined a lot this year. And maybe he sees some possibilities where Canada can go on the offensive as we get into what we think is going to be sort of some long-term trade negotiations with the U.S. on a larger trade and strategic plan, perhaps over the next 6 to 8 months. So maybe that's part of it, that he's willing to now sort of talk about Canada's strengths and maybe get into the narrative and the discussion around trade with the U.S. administration that, hey, maybe Canada doesn't need you as much as we once did, and we're working really hard to diversify that trade and what we sell abroad.
It's one thing to say that, though. It's another thing to put it into action. I mean, how easy is it really for Canada to find new trade partners that aren't geographically, literally connected to us like that? It's not easy to do that kind of trade.
No, absolutely not. I mean, this is something that is not going to filter through the Canadian trade system for years. Mm-hmm. Maybe some places with huge economic diversification like the GTA have a bigger opportunity here to find trading partners. But the stuff we sell, especially sell abroad, it's going to take a while for those trade agreements to come into effect and new partners and new business relationships to be formed. But I think what Carney is talking about in that video is that we need to do this now. And if we don't, we're not just at risk of what the Trump administration might do, but a new American mindset going forward, regardless of Republican or Democratic administration in the United States, that values America first and values Americentric ways of dealing with trade that might be for the foreseeable future.
At the same time, on the flip side of that, though, is he poking the bear here?
I don't think so. I think that Trump is going to Trump, regardless of what Mark Carney says. I think what he's trying to do is reassure Canadians that his focus is on what he can control. As he said in that video there, look, we don't really have much control over what Washington does, but we can control a little bit of our own destiny. And I think that's when he invoked people like Isaac Brock and the War of 1812 about unity in Canada, and the need for that right now, because we can frame this more as an economic war, and perhaps that the trade regime that we've really enjoyed since World War II, but especially since free trade in the 1980s, that reality's come to an end, and we need to start thinking about a new one.
One last question for you, Jamie. You watch the video and you notice that he highlights a mini statue of Major General Sir Isaac Brock, who's a military leader who successfully fought off the U.S. invasion of Canada more than 2 centuries ago. There it is right there. Our viewers are seeing that statue now. I know we're talking about trade here, but do you think there's maybe a deeper message he's trying to send by showing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Battle of Queenston Heights in the Niagara region was this great stand that British troops took against the Americans, and it's become a symbol not just of that region but for all of Canada. So he's trying to invoke the times when Canada did face the United States, albeit militarily, and when we stood together, we stood strong and got a favorable result. And I think trying to interpret that for what we are facing with the headwinds of the Trump administration on trade, but also that level of uncertainty the United States has right now and the directions that it is going. The more that we can diversify now and plan for that now, I think Carney thinks the better off we'll be.
All right, Jamie Gillies, political scientist at St. Thomas University. Always enjoy talking to you, Jamie. Thanks for your insight.
Thanks so much, Mark.